Have you ever made a decision that made complete sense on paper, but something in you felt slightly unsettled about it? Not enough to stop you, but enough to notice. Now, if that tension feels familiar, stay with me, because I'll leave you with 3 small practices that may help you notice what's really going on. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Ashford. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Adrian. Now, Adrian is a successful businessman. He's disciplined, thoughtful, and respected. And one thing about him that stands out is that he doesn't hide his faith. Almost every morning, he updates his status, be it a verse, a reflection, or a spiritual quote. They are thoughtful, consistent, and sincere. He believes in what he is sharing, but over time, something began to stand out. You could see it in how he made decisions, in the opportunities he chose, in the pace at which he moved through work. Now, some moments felt slightly off. Nothing obviously wrong, just not fully aligned. One situation stayed with me. He was presented with an opportunity, and it made complete financial sense because it opened doors, it looked like progress. And as he spoke about it, there was a brief pause, almost as if something in him was unsure. But it didn't hold him long enough, and he moved forward. And I think that's where something important reveals itself. A life can look aligned on the surface and still be driven by something else underneath. There's this whole difference between including faith in your life and allowing it to lead your decisions. For many people building something today, this doesn't happen intentionally. You begin with good intentions. You want to build well, provide well, do things the right way. But the pace of life changes you. Decisions become quicker, opportunities become harder to ignore, and slowly you begin to adjust. You still speak about faith, but your decisions start responding more to pressure than to conviction. And this is what it quietly costs. Faith becomes something you visit, not something that leads. Your words stay spiritual, but your life becomes strategic. And over time, you stop asking if this is right, and you start asking, will this work? The shift is so subtle, you may not even notice it happening. Now, there's a moment in the gospel that comes to mind here. A young man once approached Christ with a question. He had lived well, he had done many right things. But when he's invited to go further, something holds him back. Not because he doesn't believe, but because something else has a stronger hold on him. And he walks away. Not angry, not rebellious, just unable to let go. And I think that moment is much closer to our lives than we realize. So what can we do with this? Well, here are 3 small practices to begin with. First, before your next important decision, pause a little longer than you normally would. Sit in that moment, ask yourself, what is actually driving this? Not what it looks like, not what it promises, but what is truly driving it? Because when you sit with that question honestly, you'll often already know the answer. And that answer will tell you more than any strategy session or spreadsheet ever could. Second, choose one moment this week where you consciously prioritize the person over the outcome. Now, it could be a conversation, a meeting, a decision. Stay a little longer. Listen a little more. Resist the urge to move forward too quickly, because the person in front of you is not a step toward anything else. And how you treat them when there's nothing to gain is perhaps one of the clearest measures of where your values actually live. And third, take some time over the weekend to reflect, not to judge yourself, not to correct everything, just to notice, where was I led and where was I driven? You're not looking for a perfect record, you're just building awareness. Because the more honest you become about those moments, the more space you create for something better to take their place. And coming back to Adrian, well, he hasn't changed his life dramatically. He still works, he still builds, he still operates in the same world. But recently, he has started pausing just a little longer. He's asking different questions, and sometimes he's walking away from things he would have otherwise said yes to. It's nothing dramatic, but something more aligned to what he actually believes in. If you're building something in life, perhaps the goal isn't just to grow it, but to remain aligned while you do. Because it's possible to gain momentum and slowly lose direction. But it's better to arrive in the right place in due time than to reach the wrong one a little too early. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, cheers and God bless.